everyone. Welcome to GT Time. I am Kyle Bossman, your moderator, and joining us, as always, is our uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel, including Brandon Jones.
I'm a guest. But you're a moderator, so I'm a guest.
You're not a guest.
Am I a panelist?
I'm your guest, Daniel Bloodworth.
Hey.
And sitting in the super seat, Brad Ellis.
Yo.
Hi, everybody.
Apologies to your headphones.
Sorry? Apologies? No, Ian's got this all balanced. He knows how to do this.
Oh boy.
We're not peeking. I'm watching him on the switcher as I do that. Welcome,
we
everybody.
peaked a long time ago.
Wow.
No, we're getting better every week. This is a legitimate podcast. So the super seat is that's a rotating seat. Brad Ellis, you were the first person we asked the consistent question of how you got started here. So we're starting a new question for the super seat. Brad Ellis, when was the last time you had a good idea?
Well, okay. I've probably had good ideas, but this is the most memorable one I've had.
Most recent good idea. Here we go.
When I quit my last job out of the hair industry.
What was your job?
I was a hairstylist, three and a half years. And I was just doing
That's right. I remember you were whose hair were you cutting?
I still cut Mike's.
Yeah, but I mean you were somebody's hair in an open office that's now Brandon's office.
Mike's and I think Ian's.
Yeah.
At one time, yeah. It was fast and loose. But yeah, I was just doing hair and I was like, I like video games. I don't know why I'm doing this.
What was the day
It just kind of like an epiphany one time. I was literally in the middle of like a haircut on someone.
Uh-huh.
I think it was around like E3 or something like that.
Who was this person? Who were you cutting?
That poor person.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Just another head of hair.
Just like some regular I had. I forgot. Some guy.
So wait, how'd you tell your boss?
I was just like, I don't really want to do hair anymore. And he was kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, I think I want to go work in video games. And he's like, oh, cool.
Oh,
he was like
cool.
surprisingly supportive about it.
Yeah.
Because he played some video games too.
That's interesting because like I feel like hairstylists or barbers or whatever you want to call them, they're like lifers. Like they don't go like this, like Parks and Rec just had that joke with Ron Swanson losing his barber. It was like, what? It's like my whole life is gone now because the barber is dead.
It's a big deal.
Cut my hair?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. I've seen people like breakdowns over it.
What do you mean?
Like clients like losing their minds.
Over you?
I don't know about over me. I was gone already. But like I've seen it just like in salons happen. Like stylist leaves, client like just freaks out, doesn't know who to go to.
And then you're just standing there like, I could cut your hair.
But it's like, then like the pressure on you is like immense because you have to live up to that standard of whoever it was.
All right, last question. Have you ever cut someone's hair, styled someone's hair, and then that person immediately says, I don't like this?
Oh yeah, it happens to everyone. That's just the way it goes. Like you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes.
And you just roll with it?
That's all you can do, yeah.
Cool.
Like you'll talk to any hairstylist and they have like horror stories when they like blew it. Cut someone's ear or something like that. Like you're gonna do that too. You're gonna cut someone's ear.
Did you cut someone's ear?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's intense, man. Like blood is shed.
So that's why Brad is good with rolling with the punches.
Yeah, any head injury is brutal. Like there's all sorts of blood flowing real fast up here. But if you cut an ear or your forehead or anything, it's like,
oh yeah, a little nick on your ear will bleed forever.
Big time.
But yeah, you gotta roll with the punches.
I'll show you, Kyle.
Okay, so let's talk about corrections. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, let's move on. I had another story to tell, but we'll move on.
Okay, we're using corrections. Start corrections music. Dallas was played by Tom Skerritt. Does that actor's name mean anything to you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was on Picket Fences.
Oh, wow.
What?
Okay.
He's on a lot of shows.
Did we?
You were struggling to come up with the actor's name last week.
Oh, okay.
Tom Skerritt is his name.
I think I was struggling to come up with. I get Dallas and Lambert confused sometimes. I noticed when they had that DLC, I was like saying Lambert when I actually meant Dallas.
Okay.
But Tom Skerritt, thank you.
The second Alien Isolation DLC pre-order bonus was not for everyone. It was actually an exclusive bonus for specific retailers like Game and GameStop.
Wait, second DLC?
Yeah, there were actually like 2 chapters. There was the one everyone got for pre-ordering, and then there was a second one, still had all the actors in it. Or
okay.
Mostly Sigourney Weaver, yeah. The corrections music is too loud. The price of an amiibo for every Smash character is not incalculable. It is around $650 US, and the Evolve preload was not Xbox exclusive. It was also on Steam. They just kept it off the PS4.
Right. That's what they consider exclusive on consoles.
You're right, that's exclusive. All right, and corrections music.
And quieter corrections music.
I can't.
You got that note?
Turn it down.
Quieter.
Turning it up.
Oh, man.
So I want to start GT time this week, not with news, but with Water Cooler Ranch.
Okay.
Because there's a talk of the town this week. There's something that's eating up every video game conversation, and that is, of course, the length of the Order 1886.
Oh, man.
Which is still up for debate.
It's still up for debate, but we can call it short. And what
We can call it short, but I take huge issue with the 5-hour thing being thrown around because that's not a normal person playing a game. I don't know what they did to get to 5 hours, but they rushed it somehow.
I played it on easy.
They played it on easy, but I mean, like they must have just like run past the enemies as well or something.
So we should talk about that 5-hour number because that is the number that's everywhere. That's the joke. That's what this poor burden this game has to bear is that someone beat it in 5 hours and put it all on YouTube a week before it came out. Or 5 days anyway. So that happened. I'm not sure how that person got that copy or how it was posted. That person is gone from YouTube. That person has account has been erased. That person should not have done that.
But I mean, there have been reports of early copies of that game getting sold all over the place. I think some places even had it on shelves like the same day that we got it in. You know, the weekend
review
before.
copy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not that surprising to me that somebody got a hold of a copy.
Yeah, and probably didn't get an embargo with it. Probably didn't even know.
Maybe, which kind of sucks for them.
Yeah.
Probably new.
You're right.
What?
But anyway, outside of that particular circumstance, people heard this game's 5 hours, and that created an uproar because this is a $60 video game. It is full priced. Mm-hmm. We're used to playing video games for hundreds of hours, dozens maybe. 10 at least. 5 sounds really bad. And so basically, it starts this whole conversation of how many hours a video game should be. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what's Water Cooler Ranch.
I feel like this is a Hubert conversation, but oh well.
This is a human conversation.
Hubert would go off on this, I know.
You get a little too aggressive on it.
But
wait, in what direction? That it should have been longer?
No. That like that's not like where you put the value into a game. It's not necessarily how long the game
I'll
is.
open with how many variables we're talking about here. Right. It's like you could make a game where I'm literally running down a road and the trees change color for 50 hours. And it's like, yeah, I played the game for 50 hours, but it was a really stupid, boring game. So I think it's a question. You first have to open the conversation with what am I doing? What am I doing for those 5 hours? And if what I'm doing is
8
really
hours. It's 8 hours. Right.
We should stop saying 5 hours. Yeah, I guess you're right.
So like, what am I doing for less than 10?
Right.
You know, what am I doing for that? I can count on 2 hands the hours that I'm playing this game. What am I doing for that time? And is that something, people are just like, oh, it's just a movie. And it's like, that's a trilogy. That's 3 2-hour films that you would, if you were seeing in theaters, you'd pay what, 15, 20 bucks? Times 3? 60 bucks. So it's like, I don't know. It's tough for me. There's 2 complete arguments because I haven't played the game. You've played a little bit of it. You reviewed it.
Just scratched it.
You played it a little bit?
Just through chapter 1.
Yeah.
I have not touched this game. This game is right in my wheelhouse. I love everything that I've seen about this game. I did play it at PAX, and I did love what I saw. And I'm like, if I got that for 7.5 more hours, I'd totally be down.
Yeah.
I just think length is everything that everyone's talking about, and you have to have a more complex argument than that.
And I think
length is everything.
The thing is that and I'll talk more and spoiler-rific things with Andrea later, like next week. But I think to me, it's not about how long this game is. It's more about how that experience kind of wraps up. And so I think it feels shorter than it should because of the way things get to their ending.
I don't want this conversation to be about the Order in particular. I think that there's something broader here, and that is if I'm putting $60 onto a video game, I better be getting this. And I think that when that is an expectation that people have, I think that's where this outrage over the Order comes from, is this expectation. Brad, what should someone get for $60?
For me, like 8 hours is a little short for me for $60, and it really depends. It's literally a case-by-case basis on the game itself, what the game offers, and replayability or whatever multiplayer. I'm not really into that, but if the game is really solid, and I felt like when I played it, it didn't need anything more to it, then I'm okay with it. So I don't know about the Order yet. I'm just going my way through it, but it seems It seems good so far, but I'm a
Brad,
little nervous.
what I find interesting about you is you're an absolute replay guy.
Yeah.
How many times have you played through Resident Evil Remake at this point, the HD remake?
5?
5 times.
Yeah.
You played through that game 5 times.
Yeah.
How many times did you play through Kingdom Hearts to get that platinum?
Oh, over 3 times, but it was like 60-something hours.
Right, that's ridiculous. And that in those instances, you're getting a lot of value for your money.
Yeah, totally.
You're never going to get that with the order, is what I feel like.
Right. Value is such a super weird thing to have a discussion on because, you know, like again, like, if you take and you compare things, right? Like if you compare concert tickets, like sometimes you pay like $60, $70 for an hour or 2 of entertainment, you know. But it's like, well, it's worth it because of that person's talent, you know. But it's like, but it's also that moment. Like you're never gonna get that even if you watch a YouTube video or something. Like that's it. You were there or you were not there. And then movies are an easier thing to compare to because like you know what it costs to buy a Blu-ray or go to a theater. Games are really weird.
Games are weird, for sure.
Because you get a $60 game and it could be 6 hours. It could be 6 hours with a multiplayer component that never ends. Or it could be a 100 or 200 hour game. And, you know, it's a super, super weird thing to like try to figure out that metric. And then there's the strange thing that like games really haven't risen in price like movies and everything else has. You know, it's like we've stayed at this $60 price point since the freaking N64 days. So in a way, it's like they're cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and that's why we see all this DLC crap happening, is because people are trying to somehow offset the fact that people won't buy a game that's more than $60.
It is, that part is weird. Even if you consider like inflation, like 60 is the, video games are cheaper now than they've ever been, which is really weird to think
Well,
about.
video games used to be all over the place in price.
Right.
Like Turok, when I bought it, was like $70.
Yeah, and see,
That's insane. That's
but that's the thing. Back then, those prices weren't so standardized.
Right.
Like I remember looking, I looked through some old Nintendo Powers, and I saw like Super Nintendo games with list prices of like $70 or $80, and I'm like, I never saw a game above $50 in my town, not once until the N64 came out.
So you're saying that those advertisements were lying?
It wasn't lying. It was just those were just the list prices.
Oh yeah, just wherever store you go to or whatever.
But the stores weren't selling them at those prices. They were selling them for 50.
That is weird, and I guess we have digital games that are 20 now, and that's why we don't. Why it's like 60 or nothing. Though there's $40 games, man. It goes all over. Brandon, what I feel though is that there's this weird issue. Here's the issue to me. If you say the order is fine, if you say a short game is fine for $60, you're kind of being a rich douchebag. You're saying to other people...
And this question is directed at me.
Yeah, but also, if you're being like, hey, games should be longer, you're asking... If you treat this game poorly for being short, if you treat any game poorly for being short, you're kind of asking itself to fluff it up. We've all played games that have been fluffed just to get to a number. And then so, in asking for value out of your money, you're also like asking a game to be worse. And so then you're being a poor douche. So, Brandon, do you side with the rich douches or the poor douches?
But I got to be a douche in the scenario.
We're all douches. Yeah, everyone who has an opinion on this is just a huge douche. We gotta choose which kind
I gotta
you
be
are.
a rich douche. I have to be, because it's like I've been involved with GameTrailers for so long. We've been reviewing games for a decade now. So it's like I'm used to just getting games. It's just like, oh, I got this game and I'm gonna play it. And then I'm gonna, because it's all about value. Like that's something that I've always held to for reviews. Like when I put a score on something, I'm saying this is the value of the game. Like this is, whereas like if something gets a 10, like that is absolutely fits that price tag perfect. Yes, go run right now and pay whatever money they're asking for to get this game. But it's tough to evaluate that sometimes because we get sent games, because we don't actually, you do have to physically be there. Like if you're in high school and you're saving up your allowance to buy that, then like that $60 means a lot more to you than somebody who might have that in their budget for 3 or 4 times a month to pick up a game.
And so like that's in this, I feel like Brandon Jones, when you're writing a review, you should not even think about how much it costs. I think that's actually a good thing. You should just talk about how good or bad you think this game is. And then it's up to the person to determine whether that money is worth it. You know what I mean? Because $60 is a totally different thing to a lot of different people. $60, I should say, is still a lot of money. That's still a ton of money.
Well, the one case I would disagree is if it's free. Like, again, that was my huge play with Hearthstone. Like, that's a big deal that this game is competing against these all these other games that we played in 2014, none of which are free. None. There's no other free game that came out in 2014 that was a Game of the Year contender. You know, and like that's crazy that you have this company that's willing to invest so much in this game and then just be like, hey, technically you can play this for free.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
I
like,
think
my wife just beat Max Ramus, never bought any of the wings, saved up for all of them. Like actually earned the gold in game and bought all of those wings, and she just beat Kel'Thuzad. And it's like, whoa! Like she hasn't put a penny into that game.
I don't know what that means. Is that a good? That's
it's
a
the
big
end of
deal?
Max Ramus. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
a big
there's
deal.
Like, yeah,
that
it's like what was that? $5 per wing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That was a while
yeah,
ago,
at least
too,
it would
right?
definitely take you like
A long
maybe,
time.
Maybe it's like a week to save up for
time.
each of them. Like I tried saving up for that first one, and then Nax came out, and I was just like, forget it, and then I bought them all.
Do you know I hate that? That's like your wife's time is less valuable than $5. Is what that means.
Why is her time less valuable?
Because she could have paid $5 instead of
but it's not a job.
grinding
She's
for
playing
weeks.
a game while she's doing that.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why I get caught up in that. I get caught in that big time.
Yeah, she
But
loved all of that. Like at no
Right.
point was she grinding. At no point
Okay,
did she
that's
reach for her
important.
iPad and
Yeah.
go, oh, gotta save up for Nax. It was just like, oh, I
Right.
love this game, and oh, hey, look, I got enough money.
Okay.
So for free games, that's when I think it really comes into.
Is
it
if you're
really
having
comes
fun
into
in the
play,
grind,
yeah.
basically, is the major
Yeah.
issue.
But I think that's it. I think that's to where I kind of, my perspective on it, and I think for like anyone that's getting a little bit older, I'm not that old yet, but it's like it once you actually start getting money, like the whole conversation switches, right? It's like when you're young, it's like, oh, I've got all this time to play games, but I don't have any money. So you're thinking about how much this game costs. But then when you get older, it's like, I've got plenty of money to buy games, but I don't have the time to play them. So it's like, for me, like a lot of times, like no matter how you get a hold of this game, whether you borrow it from a friend, whether you rent it, it still costs you that much time to play through that game.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, how much value are you getting out of that time that you're investing into the game? How much is that worth? What does that like really speak to you? Because like if we go to like a game like like Journey or Flower, like hour or two to get through one of those games, and that's $15. And that almost equates to the same amount, right? Like if it was 60, then it would be an 8-hour experience.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, is like when there are editorials out there that are just like, video games need to be shorter. When I see those, I'm like, no, you rich douche. Long games are good. So, like,
But length can't
I get
be the
mad
only
at everyone.
determinant. Like the
I
whole
get mad at
conversation
everyone.
we're having right now
Yeah.
is this game long enough to fit the price tag?
Yeah.
And I don't think length can be determined solely on its own. You can't just be like, could have been longer. There, problem solved. And it's like, well, how would you be even, approach making that longer? Like, I want to see an argument that actually dissects the story of the Order and handpicks these moments where they were like, okay, this little bit right here where the story jumped. Again, I haven't played this game. They should have expounded on that more. Like, I just finished Evil Within, which is like 15 hours, and the entire city part, garbage. Like, the whole part where you're like going through like a ruined city, I was just like,
And empty school buses are falling over. Yeah,
no
yeah,
new
yeah.
enemities. It's just like, I was just like, wow.
And it has no
don't
impact
care
on the
anymore.
characters.
The whole moon level of Wolfenstein was just like, I just like didn't care. It was like, it's kind of interesting. Like once I got to that area and seeing like, oh wow, they're on the moon and these statues are like of like Nazi astronauts. Like that's kind of cool. And I was just over. It was like, wow, come on, okay, wrap it up, game. I'm done. Like I really felt that point where I'm like, this game's done. This game should have ended here, and they should have taken that time to focus on something else. I think, I know we don't want to bring up Order specifically a lot, but like, no one's talking about how good this game looks. Like, everyone is talking about, like, clearly something went wrong. Like, clearly they just stopped developing the game. Because, you make a game that gorgeous, anyone can do that. Like, can they? Can they really do that? Because Evil Within didn't look that good. Where the hell's my money back from Evil Within? Like, why didn't Evil Within look as good as this game? Clearly, like, they were like, okay, I'm not going to make it look that good, so I can plan out more of these scripts, so I can build more environments, so I can add, more dialogue and create more of these scenarios. Because that's what I feel is worth it to me. And Mikami's like, I really want you to trudge through this game because it's a nightmare. It's an endurance test. Of like, can this guy survive it? So like, at the end of this experience, when he like, spoiler alert, makes it out. It's like, duh, and like looks back on everything that just happened to him and is like, wow, that's a crazy nightmare that I just went through. You wouldn't have that much impact if it was like an 8-hour game. Like the fact that it's twice that, you really feel like I just ran a marathon. It's like, wow, I can't believe he made it out. I can't believe he's still sane after all the things that he saw.
Or is he?
Or right.
Yeah.
And
Dun, dun, dun.
and obviously the Order, like, that was not important to them. They're like, we want to tell this story, and that the story's that long. Just from speaking with the guys, I just spoke with Rue, the director at DICE, and like I didn't get the sense where he was like, like a shyster, like, haha, gotcha, like, we don't really care about this game. Like, I think that guy really, really cares deeply about that game. The guy takes Galahad with him wherever he goes. Like, he just went back to London and he tweeted, put a little picture of Galahad up. Like, he's so into these characters. He's so into this world. And so when people say that, like, oh, the game should have been longer, I don't think it was a question of them realizing they had shortcomings and just be like, well, we'll just like rush this game out. It was them focusing on that world. It was them focusing on making it look as gorgeous as they possibly could, and really experimenting with how they wanted to tell that story. And to some people that was a mistake, but I don't think it's like a conspiracy. I don't think it's something where it's like,
I think they could have marketed it
mess
better.
up.
I think they could have handled the interviews they had leading up to this better. I think they could have marketed it better. They could have said, hey, this is not going to be a 15-hour game. Half of this game is going to be you interacting with QTEs through cutscenes.
But I feel like they've said all of that. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think they probably at some point early on should have taken a hard look and saying, hey, a lot of gamers don't want this kind of experience necessarily. Like, we should maybe retool a little bit of how this game is structured.
Oh, I disagree
because, well, I mean,
they made the game they wanted to make.
Yeah,
I think they
because
should have been
everything
upfront
that people
about
are
it.
saying they don't like now, they've said they don't like a year ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a little weird to me that, like, this doesn't exactly come as a surprise. I think I'm a little surprised at like how hard some people are on the game, but in general, the complaints were kind of always sort of there, and it's like you're either going to love this or you're not going to be into it because of the way they decided to go with it.
Brad, do you think we'll see more games like this, or is that it?
No,
Is the
we'll always
backlash
see,
from
I think
this
we'll
enough?
always see games like this. Developers just sticking with what kind of game they want to make, which I totally respect, and I want developers to do that. But I could see the point where some people complain about it. Like, it makes sense to me why they're complaining, but I also agree with developers on how they should make the games they want. There's literally no right answer for how you can do this. It's going to be a case-by-case basis with every game. I just think the Order had it really bad. Like, literally, this game has had, throughout its development, people have been, like, railing on this game. And I think it's just kind of culminating right here at the end of the game.
Which is funny, because a lot of people on social media today are like, wow, everybody was talking about how awesome this game was. What were they smoking? And it's like...
Yeah,
I played the best looking console game I've ever played. That's what I was smoking, I guess. Like when Andrea and I were at PSX, and we were like, I mean, look at this game. Oh, this is amazing. And that's what's funny to me, that people like posting pictures on social media, and they're just like, yeah, this crappy game. And just the picture that you show is like, look at that. That's amazing.
I just
look
don't
at that
think
character design.
that's it's not as big a deal to some people as it is to
one
us.
point that you brought up, Bled, that I think is really worth talking about. Again, it's just like, no one's going to talk about that. It's like, the guy changes outfits. The guy, like, time passes throughout the game. He goes into different areas, so he changes outfits. So you don't have something like Tomb Raider, which is a really great game, but she's like, obviously freezing her ass off wearing like a tank top, and it's like not realistic.
Well, Lara
Croft
Croft changes outfits.
Like, I guess she like gets more damage, and like by the end of the game, like she does like a John McClane from Die Hard, where like starts it with like a gray tank top and ends with like a black tank top. But like there are subtle details to the Order that you might just miss if you're trying to play it in 5 hours. If you're really rushing through the game, and it's like the only thing that matters to me is what weapons I'm using, what stuff I'm shooting at, and that's the game to me. And there's just so many more elements to it.
The reason I've only beaten Chapter 1 is I would walk up to all the storefronts.
Yeah.
And they're crazy.
Yeah, me too.
And they're unique. That's probably the craziest part, is that it's not like a repeated, like BioShock Infinite, you run into a lot of repeated storefronts, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, that's what I was thinking of going
even
through
the
that
babies
market.
have man faces. Yeah.
When I was going through that market, and I was looking at the fruit, and I was like in my mind comparing it to the BioShock Infinite fruit.
Yeah.
In the market stalls. It's like, this fruit looks a lot better than BioShock's fruit.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot there if you're into details. There's a lot there to just go and pick through. But yeah, that isn't most people. Most people
it's not.
Most people want numbers to appear above their headshots.
They want to level up.
They want to level
up their skill tree.
They want double XP
Unlock
weekends.
those radio towers.
Yeah. And so that's why I think they should have been upfront about this. Probably, you know, this isn't a double XP weekend kind of game.
I think they kind of were though.
You're right. They probably were.
We knew it didn't have multiplayer.
Yeah.
We knew it was very story centric.
Yeah.
We
Said that
played
multiple
We
times,
saw the
yeah.
quick time events coming
Yeah.
up, which again is also talking about value. That like if you spend $60 on the order, if you like the PlayStation 4 is the only console you own, and you like watched every single trailer and every interview for the order, and you paid $60 and you go out and get it and are like flabbergasted at how disappointed you are in its length. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think this game was sold differently. I don't think
right.
this game. It's called The Order 1886. It's clearly the first part of a franchise. Obviously, there's no way Sony's going to let them release a 6 to 8 hour game for The Order 1901 or whatever we get next.
Yeah.
If they decide to invest in the franchise.
1887 is Bloodworth.
Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
your call.
I mean, I think it's going to just pick up where it left off, pretty much. Yeah.
I was not surprised. I think it was what I read in Blood's review was not, gee, I wonder what this game is. It was the answer to my question: is this game long enough? Is this game is the time that you spent in this game? I mean, the big question for me was the time you spent in between gameplay and cutscenes. The length of the game wouldn't necessarily bother me if I was like, oh my god, that story was so good,
Yeah.
or that experience that I had was so memorable. Again, remembering like shooters that I've played in 2014, that there was a level where I'm just like, okay, you didn't need this. So did the design of this part go wrong? Was this added solely just to make the game longer?
Yeah, oh man, our Metacritic score is going to plummet if we don't have an extra level in here. Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird about stuff to balance out.
Like my last word on the subject is I just invite people to talk about more things than length. You know, to not. It's like on one hand you're claiming that like, hello.
Sorry.
We got someone in the audience left their cell phone on.
Yeah,
Just to people who didn't understand, maybe they didn't hear what happened there. Brandon was doing his final word on the subject. He was coming to a great conclusion.
When Ian said, "No, I have a final word on the subject,"
And then he made it like it sounds like a real dumb game sound effect. Clearly he's playing games.
I saw a theater reading a couple days ago, and somebody's cell phone went off. And I love that it goes off like 8 times. Because it like goes off once in the purse, and then you're like, is that my phone? And then it goes off a second time. You're like, wait, that's my phone. And then it goes off a third time,
and you're like
opening your purse.
Yeah.
And then it goes off a fourth time, and you're like trying to find it. It's just like,
Oh boy.
what are you doing?
That's better. I've been in this situation where people are just like, it's not me. This will end. Nobody will know it's me if I go and touch it.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's
just
even
turn
worse.
it off.
I hate that even worse. So sorry, Brendan. Your final word on the subject. Don't just talk about length.
Well, because you're saying like this game doesn't have value because it's not long enough.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm saying that the length of a game is everything. That literally, there's nothing about the order that's worth talking about. Let's not talk about the story. Let's not talk about the characters. Let's not talk about the weapons. Let's not talk about how gorgeous this game is. Let's literally just talk about length and communicate that message to all of the publishers that if you make an 8-hour game, it's going to suck, period. Period. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's literally like Half-Life 3. If it's literally like Half-Life 2 caliber. How long is Half-Life 2, I wonder?
Actually, yeah, this makes me wonder too.
Half-Life 2, though, is not QTE centric. You know what I mean? Half-Life 2 is you have control of your character at the
everything
time.
in
Super
Yeah.
Metroid. That was a full price game, right?
Yes.
You could beat that game in, what, 40 minutes now?
Yeah.
If
It's
you
different
really
era.
want
It was
to?
different era.
Different era.
I mean, yeah, maybe that's
That is.
maybe that comment doesn't have
It's a
any
very
value,
old
but
school game. It's very, in that sense, there's no reason to replay it other than I enjoy this game and I want to play through this again.
That's what
I just hate it when arguments get. I think games are a really complex topic. I think we talk about games for an hour on the show. I think you can talk about games for a really long time. I hate it when it's like, oh, this game didn't do this, fail. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what else did it do? You know, it's like, like Episode 1, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, terrible film. Many fascinating things to talk about in that movie. Music, awesome. Costumes, great. You know, like
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, great. You know, just like there are sound design, the pod race. Oh my god, there's so many points that you can talk about, and I always get bummed. I always remove myself from conversations where it's like, oh, you guys are clearly talking about one thing of this entire game. So
Keep an open mind.
later.
Keep an open mind. I wish, I'm seeing a lot with Kirby too. Just the cost of the game being brought up in the review really always bums me
And that's
out.
only $40 game, right?
Yeah, but
That's
$40
super
was seen
weird.
as too much. Just like, for $40? No thanks. And it's just like, you don't know what $40 is to anyone that is reading this review. So it's just
Because
it's
there's
so weird
3DS
bringing
games
it
that
up.
are $40.
Yeah.
So they're just saying that a 2D game is not worth buying.
That's
Right.
exactly what
This should be an
Nintendo's
eShop game. Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. So
Right.
it's, bringing dollars into the conversation, I never like, because it's all different.
but that's like the
Well, and if
biggest
it's a
that's a
Ubisoft-
huge factor.
It is a huge factor for most people who are buying video games. You're right, Brad. It's still something
Yeah.
for them to consider.
If it's a Ubisoft game, it'll be half off in 2 months anyway. So.
But like, how
Ouch,
much?
Bloodburn.
I think a lot of people would be way more okay with the order if it was $40 instead of $60.
Yeah.
If it was a cheaper game, people would be into it.
What's weird is I think that would devalue the order. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
that
so
is a
wait,
weird thing, too.
It wasn't a
in some way
$40
it
game
would.
budget. It was a huge
Yeah,
budget.
it
for this
totally
game, you know
would.
what I mean?
But I'm saying people would be more willing to play it.
I'm sure
if
you're
it was
right.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Like people are gonna play that game down the line when it's on sale. A lot of people who are just like, I'll just pass on it for now.
Yeah.
But if I go back in time and imagine like, okay, I'm in high school, and I this like the order is like that's my February game. That's the only game I'm buying this month. Maybe the only game I'm buying this quarter.
Yeah.
So if I have $60 and I can only invest in one of these games, I really want to buy a game that's going to have really long-lasting value. Why on earth did you buy the order? Like what? Like clearly, this is a single-player, dedicated, story-based experience.
And I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this on my
Get
drive
Evolve.
over.
Like that's clearly a game you can play for a long time.
I was thinking about
Hopefully,
that.
Fingers crossed.
Like
Yeah.
I want to tell you, high school Brandon, like just play good games. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a game. It's unique. It's a new game. It's it's fine. It's compact. You can play that and then read books for the rest of the month. I don't know, but like play older games. Older games are cheap. Oh man, you can play this. This game will still be an 8.2 when it's 10 years old, and then you can play it. You know, if price is really the issue to you. So yeah. Oh man. Putting the this isn't worth this price is so weird to me, especially Actually, Blood brings up a good point in his joke. Games get cheaper as they go on.
Yep.
Generally.
Yeah. Well, and that's the
So
thing.
what,
like,
do you re-review it when it's cheaper?
you don't have to. If you want to play, you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
If somebody else bought it, if you want to rent it, like that's the thing too. Is like people say like, should I buy it or should I rent? I'm like, it's your money. You figure out what you want to do. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Just not
Exactly.
looking forward to all the boring 1887 interviews where it's just like,
yeah.
people complain a lot about the length. How have you guys approached that?
We've added skill trees to the game. You get a lot of experience points, and so actually most of the skills you won't even get on your first playthrough. You won't unlock those until your second playthrough of the game.
Karma system
happy now?
You've added a karma system. Are you happy now? Exactly. You're right. No, there's no way the second game won't be longer. Absolutely. It's so weird.
No ad. They'll add co-op.
And I could come back on next week's GT time and be like, hey, I played the order. That should have been longer. Like
Sure.
I'm all of my rant today is coming from a position of having not touched this game except at events.
All right, so we'll move on for now. We'll do that. We'll talk about news. By the way, I asked for good news sites last week that are mostly like just headlines. Like I feel bad. I made fun of Kotaku for not having hardcore news headlines. There's probably like 10 good video game headlines a week. Like you can't run a blog just off of good headlines.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to do things. You got to get your clicks. But here's some good ones that I actually liked or used this week. Lots of good suggestions from everybody. But I like DualShockers. I like the videogamer.com. And All Games Beta was mentioned the most probably.
Video gamer or the video gamer?
Videogamer.com.
Cool.
Wait, what is the video gamer?
It sounded like you said the video gamer.
Competitor.
The video gamer. All Games Beta is really funny. There's no writing. It's just like copying and pasting trailers, copying and pasting press releases, Famitsu scans, which I think you just can't do.
Yeah.
It's a legit site.
So
Hard
it's
to,
just the cross-posting kind of thing, kind of
Exactly.
like Go Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, Go Nintendo has writers.
Yeah, but I mean, like a lot of they aggregate like anytime anyone mentions Nintendo,
Oh, I see.
anyone's review, like it'll go up on there. Yeah.
Got it. Not anyone's. But anyway, thank you for those suggestions. And I'll even use the ones that I wasn't saying out loud, but thank you for...
So your news is fresh this week.
We got
it's hot.
fresh news.
Piping hot news.
Our first news not necessarily very fresh. This is what I like. I like anytime someone on the panel will come up and say, hey, can we talk about this week? Yesterday.
I've had a lot of experiences with you, Kyle, where I'm like, I noticed this isn't on the list. And you're like, yeah, I don't...
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not important enough.
But
And then I'm
here-
like, okay, well, here's my thing. And you're like, okay, well, then we'll do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to pressure you, Kyle.
I'm happy to be pressured. What happened? Brandon Jones said, hey, are we talking about Molyneux this week? And I said, I didn't think so. But Brandon's got an opinion, and I'm excited about
I'm
it.
here excited for this too.
I'm really excited about this.
This isn't old news because Tim Schafer released a video yesterday, 2 days ago, if you're watching this, on the day it's posted. And he said, hey, everybody, calm down on the Molyneux hate. Because I am also a developer. I also had some issues with Broken Age about us kickstarting the game and not necessarily delivering on all of our promises. And I think you all
been
need to
there.
calm down.
Yeah.
And I just think you have to put your if you're creating a Kickstarter and you're making a promise. It's one thing to be like, hey, this is kind of what we want to do with the game, and if you give me, Kyle, if you give me $10, I will get you a cheeseburger. And then if I bring you fries, And you're like, what the heck? And I'm just like, look, man, I had to walk all the way to McDonald's. I'm having a bad day today. You don't know what it's like walking down these streets. You're just a burger eater. You don't know what it's like delivering burgers.
All right. I think you're
like,
definitely
okay.
simplifying it a lot.
All right. So then it's like, I don't know. It just, to me, I love Tim, and I will, forever love that guy. That guy could, murder somebody, and I'd be like, well, Tim Schafer.
Yeah.
But I just think, I think if you promise something to somebody, if you actually, and that's like the big deal that people are having with Molyneux, that's like, he could have just made this Kickstarter, but he like went out of his way to be like, no, I gotta find somebody, and I gotta tell that guy specifically something that he's gonna get, and then not do it, and then not come out front ahead of the story and be like, whoa, we don't like the way we're doing this, we're having issues, I really wanna broadcast that from the rooftops, but wait until other, news outlets are like, wait, what the hell happened to that goddess kid? And like, I'm gonna reach out to that guy and talk to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I haven't talked to these people at all. Like, that's the issue. The issue is not that you didn't live up to your expectations, is that you seem to not care. That you seem to just be like, eh. And now Molyneux's like, I'm not talking to people anymore. It's like...
So let me recap the events. Let me recap the events to anyone who's not even like Molyneux. What is that? So Peter Molyneux, former head of Lionhead. I think he had a role at Microsoft even.
Well, Lionhead was bought by Microsoft.
Okay, but I think like even within Microsoft, he had like creative lead or something.
Yeah,
like
wasn't
that.
he part of like Connect or something like that?
Huge part of Connect. We saw him with Project Milo. Just like the Connect will allow us to do amazing things.
Where's that game?
That was never a game.
You gotta do a
Where's
British
Milo?
accent, Kyle. You gotta do a British accent.
A Molyneux is hard to do. You speak
soft.
slow
Yeah.
and soft.
Oh my god.
So, could I have some honey?
Nope.
So he left that position, started his own new company, his own new development studio, 22 Cans. The first game they created, can we call it a game? I think we can. Curiosity.
Sure.
What's Inside the Cube is the name of this game. This game is an iPhone game. I think maybe it came to tablets. I don't know. You just tapped on a big cube, and you can spend money to get tools that make you better at tapping on the cube. What's inside the cube? Something that will change your life. Was the
It's
promise.
one person's life. Whoever cracks in will change their life.
Whoever cracks that last little cube to touch the cube, that person's life will be changed.
And he was actually true about that. It did change this guy's life. Maybe not, significantly.
In a very lame way.
But it did, it did change his life.
You make a game called Curiosity, What's Inside the Cube? I can, like you made it a question, I can answer it. The thing inside the cube is that you get to be God of Gods in 22 Cans' next game. That's the entire purpose of whatever that was. It was called a social experiment, but really it was kind of like a promo for the next game. And so here's what the next game is. It's Goddess.
Right.
It's a God game. Funded on Kickstarter. And the person who won Inside the Cube, what he won technically was that he will be able to be God of Gods.
Right.
He will get 1% of the game's revenue for however long he is God of Gods. And that's up to debate.
Right.
It's likely going to be a month.
And the thing that he will be directly controlling is something called the hub world, I believe, which is like the goddess that everybody's playing right now are all separate worlds.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a hub world that will connect all the other worlds, and he will be the god of that, whatever that means, whether he's controlling the weather or, acts of God or however that works. So my point is, at that point, when he made that promise, Molyneux knew, the entire team knew that that thing might not happen. That is like, that's like down the road. We may or may not get to the point where we build that hub world.
He still believes he's going to build it, though.
That hub world is not guaranteed that will actually happen. And when he created Curiosity, his language was, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that's my issue, is that if you aren't 100% sure that things are going to happen, say you're not 100% sure that these things are going to happen. And that's not the way Molyneux operates.
Right.
Anytime Molyneux talks about something, it's, yes, of course it's going to happen, always. Everything's going to happen all the time. It's like, you just can't do that. Like, that's what I want to change.
Well,
like,
the crazy thing is he's still saying that, and the crazier thing is I said he still believes it's going to happen.
He's like a crazy man.
I still believe that there's going to be a hub world and a battle system.
He
in
wants
Goddess.
the benefits of Kickstarter, but he wants to use the old way of developing, not the old way, but the standard way of developing games. You want the best of both worlds. It's like, I want all of your money, but I don't want to be honest with you. Like I literally want all the revenue coming in, but I don't want to have to like tell you what we're doing or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because like that's annoying to me, and it's like that's Kickstarter. That's that's the ball game, man.
Do you know
If
what's
you
really
step up,
interesting? Yeah,
for better or worse, you got to update people. Granted, I'm getting like the 200th update on things I kickstarted 2 years ago that still haven't happened.
He has been updating people who are on on that little Kickstarter crew. He has been updating them. But, you know, it's just going horribly. They've
Updating
fired
on them
people.
on the things that are happening,
Yeah.
but not updating things that aren't happening. Aren't being
Exactly.
realistic about, like, you know, I'm really scared that this isn't happening. He's only creating that dialogue now because he's being forced to, because everybody's asking questions.
This whole thing has actually made me appreciate video game publishers more than ever. Do you know what I mean? Video game publishers are people who are telling the Peter Molyneux out there just like, hey, you need to do this. Here's some money, finish your game. You know, because like without it, you know, we end up with...
Last Guardian.
No, we do not. Last Guardian is happening. We end up with like Broken Age in 2 chunks. You know what I mean? Like that's just like, it's just like, hey, we thought we needed less money than we actually needed. Now we need more money, so we're breaking our game into 2 pieces. Things like that. Things like video game creators, creative minds running businesses is what we end up with, and they're not very good at running businesses is what we learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where I stand. I read through that whole unfortunate interview that you sent the link to.
Oh, with Rock, Paper, Shotgun.
That thing was just torture to read through.
Wait, explain why.
So it was so antagonistic and just like,
The interviewer.
yeah, and it was like attacking a person, you know, and it's like okay, it's like at least like have some respect for them as a person, like you know, like there are issues to be addressed.
The first question in the printed interview is, are you a pathological liar?
Right.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's the first, like that's in the interview, that's what the first question is.
And you know, so it's like, you know, like I get Brandon's point. I think that Molyneux and there are other like visionaries like him that are kind of in the same ballpark. They don't know how to distinguish between like their ideal vision and like when to tell people like what they're realistically going to be able to do.
Yeah, that's what publishers do.
And I think that's the thing, like with the like even the Kickstarter goal, the fact that they run out of money and now they have to like sign up with a publisher to get some funds to finish the game.
Yeah, that's really
it's like,
sad.
you know, he wasn't able to like realistically figure out that budget and figure out how long it's going to take. You know, but at the same time, you see that some of that stuff is somewhat out of their control with like middleware that they were banking on not panning out, and just all kinds of weird little things.
Yeah.
So like you know, it's one of these things where it's.
So Blood, you're taking the French fries. You bought that hamburger. You're taking the French fries, and you say thank you.
Well, I feel like some of what Brandon's saying
That
is
is a bad analogy, I apologize.
like there's a difference between
When you
like
put it that way.
there's a difference between like the Kickstarter rewards and like the game itself, right? It's but it's really weird because I think like Kickstarter lets you in on a level of a game that the public expecting to buy a product probably shouldn't be in on. You know, it's like if you invest in this because, oh, this is the game I'm going to get, chances are if it's an ambitious game, it's not going to come out the way they originally thought it was going to come out.
Yeah.
Like no matter what,
Right.
it's going to be a different game by the end of that process, you know, and it's really
Even
hard.
with most games that have big publishers behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very hard thing to be that public about things because it's, you know, and I try to tell people here all the time, it's like, don't say anything about this big video you want to do until it's almost done. Like I keep
Right.
repeating that
I'm sorry,
over
you
and
mean
over
like
and
making
over.
2 separate CG trailers for the Metal Gear Solid timeline?
Oh man.
Don't
Oh,
even.
man.
Yeah, now we're getting it.
Oh boy.
It's like that. It's exactly
It
like
is
that.
like that.
But we've done it. We've done it at GameTrailers.com.
Right.
Yeah.
But the difference is like, I just don't want game development to always think like, hey, we can just lean on like, hey, whoops, sorry. Oh well, phew, dodge that bullet. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing. And it's just like, I don't want people to think, oh, we'll create this Kickstarter, and then, you know, if it doesn't work out, we'll just pull them on you. We'll be fine.
You're right. We didn't
We
ask
don't
for
upset anybody.
We,
'cause
we
we'll
didn't
just
take money
we'll
for
just
the
totally
Metal Gear
set up
Solid
the thing.
timeline.
Hey, if
Yeah.
it's good enough for Tim Schafer, it's good enough for me. You know, to just be like, hey, you know, things just didn't work out. Or it's like, just you have to set those realistic goals. Or I think Star Citizen, is that the game that's been around for like 2 years? It's rated $1.74 million.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting project because it has slowly grown with the assets that are continually being given to the game. They're being extremely upfront about it. Like all of the people that are, giving money to the game have been able to get their hands on it for a really long time and just totally get into there, and they're completely upfront with like, here are all the problems with our game. Here's the current status of it. It'll be done when it's ready. So it's like, I don't look at Star Citizen being like, you're lying to us. It's like, no, it's just frustrating that it's taken as long as it has. But at no point was he like writing checks and then couldn't cash them, because it's like this game will grow with the budget that we have as that grows. Whereas if you set a budget and you go to Kickstarter and say we need this much money, and then you make this much money and you offer less than you initially said, it's like that doesn't make sense. And to Tim Schafer's credit, he did say in this video that he posted, he's like, we are making a documentary that will strive to answer that will strive to communicate to you guys, here's what's happening. That video needs to come out before the game launches.
Sure.
Absolutely. That needs to not just be one video, it needs to be a series of videos that really gets into into like, if you're saying like, oh, I'm gonna make a game on Kickstarter, everything has to be upfront, everything has to be explained, everything has to be honest. If you're taking people's money.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're honest with people, they'll be much more forgiving. Like with Star Citizen, like, hey, we got problems. They're like, okay, we understand. They're going along with you in it. But if you just sort of hush, like sweep it under the rug about everything, it makes you look bad. No one wants that.
So
I
for
think
one particular example, one of the stretch goals for Goddess was a Linux version. That is, in all likelihood, not going to happen. Do you think they should come out and just say, no Linux, it's not happening?
Yes, absolutely they should. They need to be up. You need to be honest when you're dealing with people's money, especially your fans who are supporting you.
Yeah, you're right.
What are you doing? If you get the Linux version, it'll be a bonus. Not, yeah, we're doing it, and then later again.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We'll just put on my Molyneux hat. Sorry, guys. Okay, they all forgive me. Moving on.
But I think it's one of these. I think it's very much one of these things where like he is stretching himself too thin. Like he probably doesn't want to hire somebody that's specialized in communication, because that's money that's getting taken out of people that can finish the game.
The 22 cans.
Yeah, and so it's this. I feel like there's this weird thing going on. Like he needs that person. He needs that person that can filter everything that's going on in the studio, and the full-time job is communicating what's happening, rather than him trying to communicate and then him trying to like fend off press and him trying to actually design the game and oversee and manage all these people and worry about budget. It's like, that's way too many hats for him to be able to wear, and I think that's one of the reasons that like all of this stuff is kind of spiraling. That's a lot for anybody.
Can I be very frank about what I think is the root of all this? I think Goddess doesn't look that fun.
Well, there's that.
Like, if Goddess looked like an insane fun game, like none of this would not be an issue. He'd be having lots of money coming in from Kickstarter. He'd be able to pay all his employees and these people that he can't afford the extra people Blood was just talking about. And, they would be doing fine. People would be getting it early on Steam and saying, oh, this rules, this is sick. And, and then more people would be buying it and then more money would be coming in. The problem might just be Goddess.
What's every game that Molyneux's ever made where it's like, wow, really good idea. You clearly needed more time, or you just needed to, or you were selling a different game.
Yeah, he's too ambitious for his own good.
Yeah.
He can't deliver on what he promises, and he needs to realize that.
Except for he delivered the cube.
Yeah.
You tap a cube.
Curiosity.
I hope you can deliver that.
Oh god.
All right, we should move on. Let's handle this news bit. A couple of news bits really quickly. Square Enix opens up old IP to indie developers through its collective initiative. Basically, it's funny. It's not from Square or Enix. They're all from IDOS. Gex, Fear Effect, and Anachronox. They're saying, hey, pitch us ideas. We'll go through. The collective is like Square Enix's own Steam Greenlight. It's really weird. It's like you pitch and then people vote and then they help.
Am I wrong, or is Life is Strange part of that? I can't remember.
Oh, is that part of the collective at one point?
I want to say it is, but it might not be.
I think you might be right, Blood. It's definitely like sponsored by, like we're helping them out a little bit with this. And so yeah, they've opened up tiny, weird, forgotten IPs that they certainly can't figure out what anything to do with right now. Do you think this is the right thing to do?
Did we just say Sega should do this?
We did.
Yes.
This is like 2 weeks ago. We said this is what they should do with Sonic. Maybe not Sonic, but Sega's got like Burning Rangers.
They need to do with Sonic.
Like, like, hey, anybody, if you have a Burning Rangers idea, you got a budget for it, pitch it. Like, I think this is a cool idea.
Yeah, well, not to like go back to the order, but it was like, they're like, hey, I'm betting that if we really invest in this story, that'll be the thing that'll really enrich players, and that'll be the big thing that they take out of that. And today they're like, whoops. And so like if they, if publishers are more upfront with like, hey, we got this thing, we don't really know what to do with it. I don't really look down on them for like reaching out to their fan base. I mean, like, we want to. You guys are going to end up buying this game. We want to hear what you guys where you guys want this to go. And like, we're not you. We're not as old as you are or as young as you are.
Yeah.
So what is your take on this franchise? Do you remember Fear Effect? Is that something that interests you? Is that a franchise you want to have come back? I think it's super smart, especially for those Gex. Wow, Gex.
Yeah, the gecko, man.
Yeah. And so if you're an indie developer, you're actually making less money off these games than you would if you self-published your own IP. I think the benefit is you get your own name out there. You get people at least playing your game. Mm-hmm. I'm much more likely to play Gex than, a lizard who wanders.
I mean, like that's how like graphics work. Like that actually fascinated me when I was editing for a computer graphics company that did commercials and intro shows. So if you just have like a new cool show that comes out and it's got this really awesome intro, all of the companies that pitched to make that intro made an intro, like finished it, literally like made the entire intro, and then we're like, huh? And then everyone was like, I like you. And so like those 20 companies that also made intros are just like, oh well, we just wasted 2 weeks totally doing the entire job.
I did not know that's how that works.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's like it's the same kind of thing. It's just like we're basically the ones in power. Like your guys are gonna do the dirty work.
Yeah.
Which is that idea of coming up like, oh, what's the way we can really tap into this franchise? Take everything that's great that people love about it. Take all the new tech that we have now, marry the two, and produce a cool product.
Yeah.
We just don't have the time and the manpower to do it. But if you guys are so into it, Fear Effect, yes.
Yeah.
Fear Effect 3 needs to happen.
Yeah.
Then we want to tap into that.
Cool. Good on you, Square Enix. Last Guardian trademark expired. Someone at NeoGAF found it. This is actually that's the source. Well, you know how we go back to who reported this first? It was NeoGAF. But then Sony reapplied for it the next day and got it back. Has a trademark again. Isn't that hilarious? I guess the weird thing is how excited people were to say, I knew it's dead, give up everybody. That was really my takeaway from this. When it's like, no, it's not dead, you weirdos.
No, it's not dead. I just thought they were changing the name of it.
Yeah, that was a good theory. Probably the game that comes out won't be called The Last Guardian, but
it'll be way different.
They still need that trademark. They can't just let someone else call their game The Last Guardian.
That'd be hilarious.
You think so?
Yeah.
We all agree it's on PS4 though, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, okay. So that was another news thing. Okay, we got a yes or no and why. This is submitted from a comment, actually. This is from Solidus Prime. To the panel, yes or no and why. Do any of you think in this day and age there will be a AAA title without any pre-order incentive or DLC moving forward? Brandon Jones, yes or no and why?
No, because that's like the definition of AAA.
Great answer. Bloodworth, yes or no and why?
No, I can't. I mean, one or the other, but there'll at least some kind of pre-order bonus.
Right. Brad, yes or no and why?
There's no way. There's always going to be a pre-order bonus now for really big AAA games.
Yeah.
It's work.
Even Nintendo.
It's been proven.
Even Nintendo.
I think the retailers kind of force it, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do. You need to go to GameStop. They need you to buy the game there.
Yeah. Maybe if we count Star Citizen, can we count that?
That's not a AAA game.
Can you buy it in the store?
I don't think so. But yeah, maybe like a big a AAA. If we ever call publicly funded games AAA, maybe that will be it. Because that doesn't need to make extra money. That's all accounted for. But yeah, the way it is now, I think AAA games just need extra money on top, and they'll just keep doing those stupid things. It's the reality we live in. Sorry, Solidus Prime. Let's talk about bets. Last week. No, let's do this week's bet first. Oh man, this is a little appropriate, this week's bet. The Order 1886 releases Friday, February 19th. By the time we record next week, what will the trophy percentage be for the trophy you get for completing the game? Brandon, you may choose whether you want to go first or second.
I'll go first. 45%.
Okay, that's a strong bet, Brandon. I'll go 40%.
So when you complete the game, this is how much percentage you'll get?
This is no. This is the amount of people who start this game.
And we'll finish it.
We'll finish it.
Okay.
By next week.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Is it Blood or me?
It's you.
I'll say 25.
25.
Man, you guys are all crashing in on me. Because I was going to do 40, so.
If you do 39, you really kill me.
Do it.
Do that.
Could be 40 on the nose.
Undercut him.
Yeah.
But I think it would do 35.
You going 35?
Yeah.
Okay. Heavy bets. Let me lock those in. It's got to be higher than normal, right? That's why I like 45 and 40.
I don't know what normal is.
Normal's real low. Normal, like beat a game,
Yeah.
it's like 25 to 30.
But I think there are a lot of people that won't get time to beat the whole game.
Even people syncing their trophies up to do it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. If it's real low, then we won't listen to anyone who cries about the game's length again. Do you know what I mean? Then it's just like, yeah, you are part of that 5% who beat the game, but like everyone else is still playing that game. I guess. Well, I don't know. Who cares? They're all stupid numbers. It's all numbers, man.
Video
We're talking about
games.
numbers in a world of without numbers. I do want to talk about last week's bet. Last week, our bet was about Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Monster Hunter Ultimate 4?
4 Ultimate.
4 Ultimate. On GameFAQs.com, how many users will own that game? And I think it was at like 466 last week. The number this week is not far removed from that. Or sorry, less than I thought. It's at 1,185. Bloodworth's bet was 1,200. He was only 15 GameFAQs users off. How incredible is that?
That it's that number, or that he was that close?
That Bloodworth is so close always. So I know what you did. You looked at 3. You looked at Monster Hunter 3, and what'd you do? What's your process, Blood?
I don't remember. I calculated it somehow.
He's a prophet.
You don't remember? You had the phone up. Like you were actually checking.
You couldn't have. He had the
You went
laptop
to-
up last time.
The
yeah.
laptop.
Yeah. But I don't remember exactly how I ramped it. I was like, it's like, okay, it's like 3 times as many people as there currently are, something like that.
Do you want to know a stupid thing? This weekend, I was so excited because I'm like, I'm gonna win the bet on GT Time this week.
You'd never think about that. I forget there's even bets on this show. You know, like every time you bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah, bets.
I was so
That's that thing we
excited.
did.
I thought I had it locked. I thought there was no way it's going to be anything less than 1,500. Oh my God! Because if it is 466, that means 1/3 of GameFAQs users imported that game.
Or
GameFAQs users who own that game imported it. They had it a week ago.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my God. All right. Well, that's
But those are the people that are hardcore enough
Yeah,
to me that
they're
they would
into it.
Yeah.
they're hard. Yeah, that's
Like,
what
the
you know,
They would actually
Damiani's.
do that on GameFAQs.
I was also thinking about GameFAQs. I really appreciate this site. I don't give it enough love in because this is a site that exists only to facilitate the completion of video games. It's not there to be a rabble-rouser. It's not there to ruin endings. It's not there to just like be sensationalist. It's just there to like, hey, come here and we'll help you beat your game.
There's nothing sweeter than like wanting a very specific thing in a game. You're just like, I'm trying to finish this one thing, you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to collect all the herbs or skin all the animals in Red Dead.
Yeah.
And then you go there, and it's not only there's like an FAQ just for that.
Yeah.
Like literally just for that one tiny element of a game, and it's like,
And nobody was paid to write that. That
Yeah.
person just knew that this would be helpful if I write this guide.
Yeah.
Big
I wrote
shout out
the-
to anyone who's ever written an FAQ.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
thanks.
oh yeah.
You've written one?
Yeah, I did blue coins for Super Mario Sunshine.
Whoa.
All without screenshots, like
Cool.
just cardinal directions.
So hold on. If I type in Super Mario Sunshine, I'll find a guide written by Daniel Bloodworth.
You'll find the Planet GameCube guide, and I think there's a section in there about blue coins or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I did all the blue coins, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Sometimes when I'm playing a game, I'll think of like how I would write the game FAQ.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's so weird. I wish I wrote one. I feel bad now. So Blood, you've won another week. So let's do points. That's Superseed at 2, Bloodworth at 3, Brandon at 1, myself at 1. Blood's taking the lead again.
You guys are letting him crush you.
Yeah. It's 15 off. That's unbelievable. That's pretty crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about what I would.
That order review, baby.
Yeah, you,
Oh, that order review is doing great. It's like it's
it doesn't need the help of GT
doesn't
Time
really
viewers,
need
is what
any
you're
help,
saying.
It's a wasted pick.
But actually, what's surprising? I'll do the other review I did this week. What's surprising is that the review for The Crew is also doing fairly well, and it's 2.5 months old.
So you reviewed The Crew.
Yeah,
Why is it 2.5 months old?
or late rather, not old.
Yeah.
It number one, there was no early access for it because it was supposed to be a big MMO, even though you might as well just play it single player. And then just the timing of it, was just okay, it came out like end of the first week of December or something like that. And then we had like a week and a half to like try to rush through all the awards. And then holiday break, and I couldn't really like rely on my mom's setup to like take a PS4 home and play it over the break. So then it didn't happen over the break, and then we come back, and then we had to do Ultimate Game Preview, and blah, 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 blah. And then so by the time like I even got to a point where I could breathe and actually start working on the crew again, it was low priority. So anything else like Grim Fandango or something that came in was already higher priority just to get it done.
Right.
So it was just this back burner thing that I just kept picking at, and people told me to stop doing, and I finally got it done.
So, Daniel Bloodworth, the crew is no longer a $60 game. Don't you think you should have treated it a little nicer?
No. Actually, there's still people that think I scored it too high, but...
This is the thing, though. This is the thing. If you consider, like, dollars, like, it should be a better game because it's cheap. You get more value out of the crew. In the crew, you go over to radio towers. You unlock part of the maps on the crew. That makes the game longer. It's a better game.
Do you do that thing? Is there unlocks in it?
There are radio towers in the game.
Oh, no. You gotta be kidding me.
No.
A racing game?
In a racing game, yeah.
Oh, God.
It's basically an Assassin's Creed game.
It's Assassin's Creed on
God.
wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I love towers.
You love towers?
I dig them, man.
Oh.
But in the crew, come on.
What do you love about towers? What do you love about going up to a tower and like getting a new pair of the map?
Yo, that was fun.
Because you can't take, because you don't want to jump into an open world and it's just like, boom, there's map, go. And you're like, wait, that's why I didn't play Fallout. Fallout 3, because like I like finally got out of the area and like went in and they were just like, here's this whole world, and I'm like, oh god, I don't have time for this game. Yeah, I mean this game's really cool, but like, man, I don't know if I want.
But you got time to climb every tower. Like when I was playing Far Cry 4, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. I'm not even going on this map, part of the map. 'Cause I don't want to climb this stupid radio tower. But I don't want to do this.
To me, it's like chapters. It's like if you read a book that had no chapter breaks, and it was just going through the whole thing. Whereas like those towers are a chapter break. It's like a point to be like, hey, now you're in this part of the map. Now here's basically the theme of this one section of the map. You can mess up towers big time, but at the same time, like you can do,
The story should take you to different parts of the map.
The story does. The towers
yes,
are completely...
I know that, but there's still areas you don't go to.
Right, I'm just saying that the towers in the crew are completely, like, throwaway anyways.
Yeah.
They don't really do anything for you.
And I think it's important if you're making an open world map to have those points of interest. Like to have like when they look at an Assassin's Creed map, they think like, what are those towers going to be? And those towers aren't going to be on like some stupid building. It's like, oh no, we'll make that really awesome building. Like that'll be a tower. So it gives you a chance to like, I would never climb up that building. I have no reason to ever.
At least they give you
Whereas like
history
because
lesson.
I got to get up there and unlock stuff, it's like I'm climbing up this building, and be like, oh, this building's pretty cool. You know, I don't know. I dig them.
All right.
This is a crazy tangent.
Not into it.
I love
Towers.
this
We'll
tangent.
continue next week.
By the way, this is still technically Bloodworth's close. He's earned the right to close out the show.
Sorry, I'm dead.
So yeah.
We've had the close music playing.
These are our Twitter handles. Our close music is probably not too loud, hopefully.
Crank it.
And yeah, leave us comments. Tell me how terrible a reviewer I am for the order review and everything else. Yeah. Have a good one.
I love.